So we're looking at Tuesday, August 12th, 2025, and yeah, it's about 6:59 p.m. ish as always. It's Tuesday. Yesterday we got into my book Eyes on China, and I talked about the hell of being handicapped in China and how you're shunned. I mean, mom and dad have a kid. Just a moment, burp button. Mom and dad have a kid with some defect, and automatically it's their shame. They feel like, oh my God, my child is imperfect, means I'm imperfect. They treat their kids like they would treat a new Ferrari. Get a crack in the windshield. Oh my God, not that. Well, we're going to continue on from that. We left off talking about how newborns, coming right out of the hospital, we see newborn deformities all the time. Now, not always, but way the hell a lot more than you do here. Let's carry on. Let's talk about acute myopia. Myopia means nearsightedness and even blindness. There's acute genetic damage, and you can see that in the fact that over 92% of all Han Chinese aged 18 and older need glasses, always for nearsightedness. All right, think about it a minute. Listen to this percentage again. 92% plus, over. 92 of 100 people who are over the age of 18 in China need glasses. It's genetic, sure as hell is. It's not the water, although if you've drunk their water, you might think it was. Oh my God, no. Well, this isn't insane. This statistic, by the way, was gathered from the Ministry of Health's report on myopia in 2013. I'm sure that between then and now, those numbers have not changed. Now, despite this fact, most children don't get their first pair of glasses until they're in the final years of primary school. Okay? A kid's born, kid has bad eyesight, they don't get glasses at all until they're in grade 6. That's when it's become obvious that they have to see the blackboard in order to read it. They stop squinting and holding their fingers in front of their eyes, and mom and dad finally break down and say, oh geez, we've produced a less than perfect child. Grade 6, what's that, 12 years old? Let's get them some glasses. Oh my God. And this delay, this holding off on fitting kids with glasses, that's the result of fallout from the disastrous, draconian one-child and now two-child policies. China had that one-child policy, one kid's all you get, except certain circumstances. Then came the two-child policy. The two-child policy is really funny. Let me tell you about it. The way that works is there are 33 provinces in China, but not all provinces will allow you to have a second child. When the feds passed their second child law, what they said was, now the provinces are authorized to allow a second child. What that means is bribery, bribery, bribery. People will spend generally upwards of $5,000 to secure permission to have that second child, and then only in 18 of the 33 provinces is that allowed. Having only a single child for the most part, and knowing that for the most part there are no more babies where they came from, mommies are especially vain. This is the only child she's going to have. And if the kid isn't perfect, well, she's screwed, okay? Mommy's vain and not a little bit paranoid when it comes to the state and the condition of her child, especially if it's a boy. Mothers find it impossible to bring themselves to admit that their child has any imperfection. And that happens in America too, though. Parents of one child always believe that child is some sort of a budding Einstein, some super genius. I know this jackass named Tim. He had a girl, forced her to take cello lessons and what have you because she's a budding genius. Oh my God. And then her dumbass little brother, just as dumb as the box of rocks, oh, he's a computer genius. I had to show him how to power up his Apple. Anyway, so parents suffer this part of only child syndrome where they believe their child is the cat's meow until the child's old enough to prove them wrong. Gee, I guess my little Stephen Hawking is really a little Curly Howard. That's how it seems, okay? Mommies are especially vain here. They find it impossible to bring themselves to admit it. The danger of living your life vicariously through your child is obvious. Myopia, for example, nearsightedness. It's rarely addressed until it's so far advanced that you cannot deny it anymore. By the time they're about 12 years old, you got to stop hiding the fact that Junior can't see the freaking blackboard. So much for your pride issue. The earlier a kid with myopia is treated, the better. If you find this child is 4 or 5 years old and doesn't see well, get him glasses. Don't wait till they're 12 or 13. Yes, it looks like mommy's little sugar pants is nearsighted. Oh, the shame. Oh, the horror. That's how they view it. They view it as, oh my God, my child. I guess she can always jump off a bridge or find a sturdy oak hook and hang herself. I mean, I've even seen these sick bastards turn over 10-year-old children for laser eye surgery. Yes, LASIK surgery at the age of 10. Now in China, that's illegal as hell. You can't have it after you're 50, can't have it before you're 20. I got parents slipping in there, getting with surgeons, bribing them. That's the way it's done in China. And I've seen the catastrophic failure of such surgery on children who are 10, 11 years old. And that's all for mommy's vanity. You know what it's like? It's like she bought a brand new Ferrari, right? $190,000 sports car. It's beautiful. And there's a chip in the paint. You can just see that. And you know, everybody's going to see that chip in the paint and go, oh my God, she's got a chip in her Ferrari. That's how they treat their freaking kids. Needing glasses is a chip in the Ferrari. Eyeglass shops are as common in China as gas stations in the United States. Despite the plethora of eyeglass shops and optical accessory dealers, somehow mothers still find it difficult to impossible to admit that their kids need glasses. Sucks, don't it? I've seen it so much. But hey, how about them chompers? Teeth. Yeah, here's another genetic challenge jumping up to bite them. Genetics combined with a really bad habit. We'll tell you about it in a minute here. The bad dental health of these people makes the British look like perfection. Yes, Chinese teeth are even worse than those of the Brits with their legendary chompers. A typical child in a typical Chinese family, which can afford it, will have had some extensive bridge work by age 16. It's not uncommon to see a Han child at the age of 7 or 8 with all of his teeth rotted out of the mouth, teeth rotted to the gum line. Even with regular dental maintenance, the Chinese remain doomed to long-term relationships with their dentists. But dental maintenance, we call that proactive, get in there and get it checked twice a year. No, they don't do that. In China, they don't get into the dentist until there's some body fender work to be done. But they make money. Understand, they say this in China. They say that doctors are silver, dentists are gold. And this refers to the potential income of each guy. A good doctor can make a good income. A good dentist can make a really good income, a lot more. And that's their teeth. I've seen these kids. They're 6, 8 years old even, some younger. The little teeth that they had have already rotted out of their head. Yeah, I know, it sucks. And they won't be getting braces. Some teeth will grow in their place and they'll suck, and then there'll be dental work, a little body fender. Those dental implants are hot stuff in China, and they're implanting, and again it sucks, they're implanting adolescents. That's too young for an implant. People, your jawbone is still extending. Your body is still growing. I had dental implants, but I was in my 60s. Okay, that's cool. If I'm in my teens, that's a disaster. All right, let's go to a really unpleasant topic here. It has to do with Chinese infanticide. It's an epidemic that's on the downloads, on the QT. All too often, when the handicapped are deemed too inconvenient for caregivers, they have them put down. Now let's get serious. Yes, the Chinese will have their child put to sleep, euthanized. The Chinese use the term euthanized, but in the end it's the same thing. It means that the precious light of a human life has been snuffed out, all for the convenience of the parents so they can have another child. The handicapped who are tucked away in institutions or little homes, they're the lucky ones. Just as often, they're disposed of in hospitals if the problem is considered obvious at birth. I've seen this where the child is born and there's an obvious defect right there. A doctor will kill the child, either with an injection or by breaking their neck, and they will write down dead at birth or died of natural causes. And the parents have already pre-agreed to this. The mother has said, if my baby is defect, you know what to do. Tell me it doesn't suck, okay? I mean, while it makes many people uncomfortable to look upon or deal with the handicapped, it's to our benefit that we do. In a civilized world, we look upon the handicapped as our teachers, as role models for compassion, for caring. The handicapped and the infirm, they comprise a valuable element of Western society. Their presence among us makes us a better, more compassionate, kinder, and more civilized people. Of course, whoever said the Han Chinese were civilized? Who? The Han Chinese. I mean, there's a little term we use called KID, kid, killed in delivery. Many of these little ones are simply put to death in the very hospitals in which they're born. The birth record is often fudged. They create a new one, whether it's a matter of sexual preference, meaning they killed it because it was a girl, or for the simple convenience of not having a baby that's deformed or the wrong sex. Babies are often killed on delivery. No birth record means the birthing couple can avoid the mountains of paperwork, red tape, exorbitant fees necessary to get permission to have a chance at another child. That's right. In some provinces like Liaoning, you don't need a birth certificate or a dead at birth certificate. The baby is born and they just don't show a record of her ever having had a baby. You understand what that is? That is horrific. That is so bad I can't even spell it. This hurdle is overcome with a clerical oopsie or an overt, give me 3,000 UN, it's about $500, and this never happened. Remember, corruption in China is systemic and epidemic. The horrors of infanticide in China are epidemic. But you're not going to see it in the record because that baby was never born. It never happened. Mommy put a red envelope full of money in the doctor's pocket. It's all taken. I mean, this is part of the old kill it before it cries, for God's sake. I can remember during my time in emergency wards, maternity wards, and general hospital duties, witnessing many disturbing practices. Disturbing as so many practices are, nothing prepared me for the cold-blooded murder of partial or fully born babies. There's a scenario I relate from my experience. I was in a maternity hospital, a private one. Wouldn't matter if it was government. We were delivering a child. It was a premature birth. The baby was, about 7 months along. And you understand, a gestation period of 7 months, you're going to have some complications. It's not always straightforward. Few babies are born strong and healthy that early. But we're ready to nurse the baby along, get it out. That means the baby's able to survive on her own. 7 months is, if I deliver a baby at 7 months, either by cesarean or by fast delivery, there's an excellent chance of bringing it around, saving it, keeping it alive. However, had there been complications like severe bleeding or anything where a C-section's in order, we still deliver the baby. But I noticed immediately in this case that this was not a baby. It was two babies. It was a set of conjoined twins. That another term is Siamese twins. They were moderately physically joined at mid-torso. It wasn't, it wasn't horrible in the words of the surgeon. There was some joining at mid-torso. Other than this, the children were alive, they were viable, they had their own sets of organs, they weren't sharing anything, like, one heart for both. It wasn't happening. It's a major deformity, but the surgery for separating kids like this is relatively straightforward and readily available. Not in China. The delivering surgeon handed me the babies. I was cleaning them up, the usual dressing. And as I was working with the kid, another doctor in the room snatched him out of my hands and said, "You're obviously new here." He didn't know I was an American. As he spoke this, the good doctor severed one of the baby's heads with a large pair of scissors and tossed the bodies into a saltwater bin. I just stood there. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to reach out and kill the son of a bitch, but they're not even in even more trouble than before. This is how the Chinese live. I've seen my share of horror stories in this area. I'm not going to go into any further detail because it's starting to beat me up real bad here. Let me close by just saying unauthorized births are those where the family has failed to secure permission from government to have a child. This is most common in second child births, where the children are often destroyed immediately upon delivery. Oh, China, what a great society, eh? You're learning more and more about it, and I thank you for listening. Tomorrow, we're going to go on. We're going to go into from page 13, a few more pages down, and we're going to talk about the abortion stormtroopers. We're going to talk about we don't serve your kind around here, and engineered inaccessibility to the handicapped. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Thank you for listening. Thank you for understanding. I'm Max, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.